Hello and welcome to TMKF Netrunner. I'm not Yeti and I'm joined by...
Fridan, local Norwich player.
You were at this tournament.
I was at this tournament on the day.
This is round 5 of Swiss at the East Anglian Regionals in Cambridge. On screen we do have Kikai, who is himself a Cambridge local and EA Sports member. You can see more EA Sports merch on screen. Although a bit subtler than the one that Bartimus was wearing in the previous round.
Yeah, Kikai, long-term rival of the Norwich meta, turned ally.
Yeah.
Now that Norwich and Cambridge have joined forces,
And playing against Rotage, who is like a long time, both of these players, long-serving Netrunner players.
Yeah, Rotage known for coming up with some really sort of wild and wacky decks over the years. Hyperdriver being a pet card for a while, I seem to remember.
Yeah, and you see there he's got the 2015 Worlds Championships t-shirt on, so you know he's been around a bit.
Yeah, both players have been playing for a long time now, and almost certainly know each other and know a little bit of what to expect.
Yeah, and they're both doing fairly well in the tournament up to this point, I think. And yeah, we've got Built to Last, and I don't know that I've seen this list published since the event. I don't quite know what it's going to be up to.
I know nothing about this Built to Last. I'm excited to see what we're going to see here.
And then we're up against Kikai's Steve Cambridge, which is a known quantity, I think, pretty much unchanged, 1 or 2 cards different from the list he played at EMEA.
I think I'm one of the few people in EA Sports yet to really put any time into this Steve deck, but everyone who's played it says it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it just so happens to win games.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the fun ones. I think like BtL, I wouldn't know how to, like, going into a game, if I got paired against a BtL in Swiss, I wouldn't know how to feel necessarily. I think that if we're talking about Built to Blast, which I highly doubt that we'll see here, sometimes they're just going to outpace you. Sometimes...
Yeah, we're talking two quite distinct flavours here, like one being a really rush heavy with a kill backup plan, and then you might also be looking at a really heavy Glacier approach, which it would be kind of tough for Steve, I think.
And I mean, either way, right, BtL is going to be on Charlotte, almost certainly. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know this list, but if we can guess one thing, it's probably that we're spending influence on Charlotte.
It is a good card.
And Steve doesn't play Pinhole, so not being able to go after that like the unfair way is kind of rough.
That's gonna create some pressure. As with a lot of games at the moment, it's going to come down to the early draw, but that's especially true in criminal decks. If we can get that Banhart down nice and early and get some pressure going, we're in a good position. But
yeah, the deck plays 2 copies of Banhart as well, so it's one of those ones where, despite the fact that it's the title of the deck and everything that we're looking to do is really backed up by Banhart, it doesn't necessarily show up.
The secret to building a good criminal deck is to fill it full of Banhart cards.
Yeah, we're spending 15 influence hits, 3 copies of Strike Fund, 3 copies of Steelskin Scarring, and 2 copies of Banhart. That is everything. On top of that, we get the Cybernetics package that came out in Parhelion, I think, or across the Borealis cycle, which was just like... I don't think anyone was playing any of those cards.
No, but it turns out, put them all together and you've got a package that creates that, when you've already got this central pressure rolling, it all just adds up into something that really works.
And ultimately, I think Steve is very much an idea that says get 1 good run a turn.
Yeah.
So it looked like that was a mulligan from Rotage and a keep from Kikai. And we're doing turn 1 is ice. Remember that you need to start the game with 5 credits.
Get 5 credits, very important.
Very important clickless action to take early on. So yeah, you were playing at this event, right?
I was.
Yeah.
I finished this King of Swiss, as it turns out. I went undefeated through Swiss.
And so you you were playing Hoshiko?
I was playing my personal favourite current deck of Crew Hoshiko, or Blue Hoshiko.
Yeah.
Because it spends all its influence on blue cards, apart from DJ Fenris, which is a blue card.
Turns blue.
It turns blue.
So Kikai here, he's played the Short Gamble, played the Paragon, and made a run on R&D.
Yeah, so immediately getting value from these runs. We're not just getting single access for the sake of it, we're getting value runs as early as we can.
Looks like an Afshar on the top of the deck.
And interesting, we see this remote ice with nothing in it. Are we building up to have something in there quite quickly?
Yeah, I assume the last click from Rotage there must have been draw, because we're still on 5 credits. And we didn't see an advance, sometimes... so I wonder how we're planning to deal with it. The economic pressure that Steve is going to start putting on, probably in the not too distant future, is quite high.
Yeah, and the fact that we had 2 ice there and we chose not to ice R&D maybe suggests we're not going to look to turtle up too much.
Yeah,
we're going to try and rush a little bit.
And we see that there.
So we get the install advance there, getting the BtL trigger.
Over on Kikai's side of the table, Steve, that's an Alt Art Career Fair that just got played to play the Earthrise Hotel for 1
I haven't seen
credit.
that one. That's a nice one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's an official kind of NSG era one, and quite nice. Interesting draw there for Kikai. Got the Docklands Pass and I believe that was the Zenit chip.
It looks like a Zenit chip. Kikai's favourite card.
Yeah, I was going to say, nobody was playing the Cybernetics, but of course Kikai was playing Zenit chip at Worlds last year, just out of ESSA.
Kikai will always tell you to put Zenit chip in the deck, no matter what the deck is.
And that's a Cat's Cradle we see in hand, which will be good into that Afshar.
Yes, yeah, we're happy to see that.
But the Afshar's still in hand, not on the table yet. Banhar, that's the card
Banhar's here, so now we can start. Next turn we can put some pressure on.
I wonder if that was a reason to keep this hand in the first place,
That would make sense.
Second credit off of Paragon, bottoming a card, which means that we've not quite paid for ourselves yet, but we're getting pretty close. And Logjam on top.
Logjam, okay, so yeah, we're again seeing some bigger ice here.
Yeah, which
Logjam's
also
decent into Banhar as well.
Yeah, and also very good into Boomerang. So
yes.
In the criminal matchup, it can be really quite nice. Interestingly, we do see the Charlotte, which we were expecting.
Yeah.
But I think Logjam isn't a card that really appears in the kind of built to blast.
I haven't seen it much, no. It's probably a bit too expensive for a dedicated rush deck.
In one of the games that Ashbo and I commentated earlier on in this, we did see a Logjam get hushed, which is one of those things where you go...
Yeah, not a card you want to be paying 6 credits for at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on how this game goes, right, the... Fractor in Kikai's deck is Tremolo.
Yeah.
Which Blue Cleaver, which can and probably a not insignificant number of board states break a Logjam for 0.
Yeah, or 9.
Or depends very much on how far into the game we are and how much strength there is. But if that's a Logjam on the remote, which I think is quite likely,
yeah,
now it gets rezzed for bugger all really.
Yeah, and we got 2 ice on both servers, so we're playing around Banhar here quite carefully.
Strike Fund and Tremolo off that draw. Now, the first copy of Tremolo, often you're quite happy to lose to net damage.
Yeah.
But playing against Wayland, maybe you just need to get that on the table.
I think, most Wayland decks are running a lot of barriers.
Yeah.
So that could be your main breaker for a while.
But we don't have a huge of money over on Kikai's side of the table, and we do have other installables in hand. We've got the Zenit, we've got a Docklands Pass. These are one-ofs that you don't want to lose.
Yeah, I don't want to be playing Tremolo here, but we get it down. I suppose we don't want to lose it.
I think that looks like we're playing the Zenit chip next.
There we go, so making it a little bit better straight away.
We do have a Strike Fund in hand, one of those lovely Brindle mold alt arts, and losing the Docklands Pass.
Yeah, we're probably not too sad about that at this point. We'd like to have a Docklands, but with 2 ice on HQ and an open R&D, it's probably not our focus right now.
Yeah, I mean,
let's get the value runs while we can.
For me, increasingly, I find that Docklands Pass is an incredibly important part of this matchup, right? Part of the deck, because you're just getting sometimes the game's over by turn 8, and sometimes Docklands Pass doubles the number of accesses you get over the course of a game.
Yeah,
I think maybe against Built to Last. Do you expect agendas to be hanging out in HQ? Probably
a little bit. This is starting to look like it's going to be a version of Built to Last that goes a bit slower. We're leaving that Charlotte cooking for a nice long time, build up a big economy before we make a push, which means inevitably, agendas are going to start to build up in HQ while we wait to be ready for our scoring window.
Yeah. And so we did get the Zenit draw. We got the Paragon filtering. Paragon, I think, has bottomed 3 cards so far.
Yeah.
So doing quite a lot of work.
There we go. So we get some ice down. on R&D. So now, no free single accesses. Going to have to work a little bit for it, but with backups down, it's not going to be too difficult.
We're looking at something like 19 credits for the corporation there, though. So Steve is going to have a difficult time if he's planning on taxing out the resources here, which is what we want with the Charlotte still on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to get tough. But we also know this deck is running emergency shutdown, so seeing those log jams getting shut down could be pretty satisfying.
Well, that's interesting, though, because the counters don't go away. If you shut down a log jam...
you better hope it stays shut down.
Exactly, yeah. So off of that, the Earthrise is finished now, and off of that we got a career fair and a class act.
Okay.
So if I'm Kikai here, I'm thinking maybe click 1, I'm going to do that, because... I can't afford to...
We don't want to lose either of those cards.
But we're going to run Archives. We're going to get that... it's a credit and a draw and a filter draw at that, so...
Yeah, a click well spent.
Yeah, it's just value, and probably tells us that Kikai isn't planning on putting on a lot of Central's pressure this turn.
Yeah.
Probably wants to get himself into a position where he can play cards like Bravado.
Yeah. Get some strike funds in hand, get some steel skins in hand, and make sure that those runs really pay off, and then we can see a couple going into the hand there.
I saw Bravado, I saw Steel Skin Strike Fund, and I think Panweave.
Okay.
Now Panweave, very, to me, is the reason why this deck is so fun to play, because that is a card that I don't think anybody had on their list of good
one
cards.
credit doesn't sound like a lot,
but it makes the difference in so many situations, right? Where your opponent is running the numbers and is ends up being 1 credit short of raising a piece of ice, 1 credit short of advancing that agenda that they need.
Yeah.
There's lots of situations where it can buy you an entire turn.
Yeah, those fine margins. I will say, looking at the corpse credit pool here, I'm not probably that excited to play Panweave, but
you would be surprised.
You don't want to underestimate it. It will add up.
Look, if we install Panweave, and we want to get to the point where we can play Bravado this turn, I think. But Panweave also, importantly, does make Tremolo cheaper, so that's
reason enough, probably.
Yeah. So it could be Strike Fund, we just need to get some money.
Yeah, sitting on 2 credits here is tough.
So what do we think this build to last win condition is?
That is a good question, because Big Ice might not be enough in this kind of meta at the moment in general. So is there something else going on here? Do we think there's a kill plan? I think that probably...
With 20 credits on the table, you've got to start to think about punitive counter-strike if you're Kikai here.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Even if it's just a backup plan. You run big agendas and you just have 3 punitives in your deck. You don't necessarily aim to do that all the time, but it's there as a threat.
Okay, so yes, we did... we've installed the Panweave. I believe we played a Strike Fund, and we're now bravadoing HQ, which is Banhard.
Yes.
Afshar?
Forcing a double ice res, essentially.
Yeah. Afshar costs an additional 2 res as a result of Cat's Cradle.
Yeah.
So we're already putting on that economic pressure.
Yeah.
We might see these credits start to dwindle. We're taking 2 damage off of this, deciding not to break for 1 sub.
And a lot of Corp decks... that's a nice hit. A lot of Corp decks will be set up to, their economy will be just enough to get them through the game, to do whatever their game plan is. With Cat's Cradle, with Diversion of Funds, with Panweave all coming through, and you lose 5, 10, 15 credits that you weren't planning to, suddenly your game plan gets a lot harder to pull off.
Yeah, and I mean, this Afshar, right, which is normally a really frustrating piece of ice for you as a runner, in this game, just gave Kikai draw 2, gain 2. He still skin and a Strike Fund off of that one, so...
You're happy to see it. And having to res the second piece of ice if we want to deny all of these triggers off the Paragon, the Panweave.
Yeah, we're fully...
And Steve himself.
Rotage here having to read the Tremolo, which is very fair, but we fully break border control for 1 here, which is quite nice.
Very nice.
And we're down on 2 credits. Do you think... do you think about border controlling here, or are you saving that for
I think you wait for
diversion
of funds would be... Yeah, you're waiting for that here.
Okay, so Kikai getting the accesses.
The other thing we've seen is Ice on Archives. I'm assuming that might just be to deny the easy central runs, But potentially, Rotage is already thinking about the sneak door beta in this list.
I think absolutely.
Steve is a known quantity, so if he's thinking ahead, that could be coming.
Sneak door is also there are a few cards in the Steve deck which make it one of my favourites, and Power Weaver is one of them. Sneak door beta is one of them. I love throwing down a sneak door at a certain point in the game. Ooh, ripping 3 points out of HQ.
That's a good hit.
That's the one you really can't steal City Works out of the remote.
That is a City Works, so that tells us a little bit about our game plan here. I think Punitive is a good...
And I think Kikai has got himself safe from Punitive now. With that, Bravado netting us 5 credits, plus the 6.
That run really closed the gap. Bearing in mind, we started on, a couple of credits here.
Yeah, I mean, we started the turn on 1 credit, right?
Yeah.
And we've managed to do quite a lot. But I think it's interesting. Kikai lost a strike steel skin in there, and I don't know, did we see a Steve trigger in there? I don't think we did.
I don't know if we did. That might have.
Maybe an oversight.
But we'd want to be picking those up at this point.
Maybe if we already have 5 cards in hand, we might, and that was our last click, we might have made the decision not to.
Quite possibly, yeah. We are sitting on 5 now, so.
But
there's nothing we want more than the cards, and I'm not seeing many doubles in there. Maybe a couple of career fairs.
I think you got 2 career fairs. I think. We did have to discard down at the end of turn. We discarded that Dirty Laundry, so I wouldn't be surprised if we just declined the trigger for now.
More ice on HQ, just recognising that we can't let
continuing to advance Charlotte.
Run for 2 net damage and a credit is too good for Steve.
Yeah, and I mean Charlotte is just such one hell of a card if you think about it. I don't think we've played any economy operations this game.
No, that Charlotte has just been there since turn 2.
Yeah, and it's just continued, and probably at this point provided us with 20 credits
at least,
because you get from the ID ability every single time you advance.
Yeah, it's tempo positive just to advance it.
And we are ban hiring HQ, which is interesting.
I think we can see. We've got the break for Afshar. It's going to be a bit more expensive now, but
Afshar's 3 credits, border controls 1.
Yeah, again forcing more reses. It was reasonably likely that this run pays for itself.
Yeah, and at that point, every time you can do it, you are getting value back. But it very much depends what the outermost dice is.
Okay, we're getting a revolve down as well, so we've got
the breaker suite. And we're well on our way. This Steve is getting set up.
And as we said, with HQ is probably where we're expecting the agendas to be at this point in the game.
Yeah.
We've seen one. We're probably expecting at least one more in there at this point.
Yep, and we're just seeing Rotage kind of sit there, not able to utilise this remote server yet. I mean, how much longer can you afford to cook this Charlotte?
Yeah, at what point is that when you're going to feel that remote is safe to use? It's never. I don't think with all 3 breakers down it's ever going to be comfortable. So we're probably looking at some upgrades. We're seeing the city work. We're probably looking at Angelique to go alongside that.
You think, yeah, or
really punishing to actually steal anything out of there.
We're providing HQ, so pretty much whatever happens, this one will pay for itself. But we've got to see what is coming. Colossus.
Okay.
Do you know what the subroutines on Colossus say?
I believe it's a tag and a trasher resource, and then the triple advanced version is more tags and program trashing.
You can advance this. It gets an additional strength for each advancement counter. Give the runner 1 tag. If there are 3 or more host advanced counters, they get 2 tags. And it's install a program. A trash and install program, sorry. If there are 3, trash and program and a resource.
Okay. Program and then resource if it's fully advanced.
In this game, it's 2 net damage.
But absolutely, yeah. I think that being on the outside means those subroutines, it's not likely that they're going to come into effect.
It looks to me like what we're aiming for here is Afshar is going to be
make Afshar relevant.
Tags,
yeah, absolutely.
So we're getting all of our triggers. We still haven't border controlled. Leaving the card on top, it looked to me like it was a steel skin, but I could be wrong. We're going to draw it, and this should be a...
So we look at it, then we draw it, which is nice.
Yeah.
We can decide whether we want the card or not.
Siphon a single credit, and then... So already, Rotage down on 12.
Down on 12, and only resing ice on HQ so far. So this is where, at some point in this game, if a sneak door comes down, all of that investment in HQ ice is wasted.
We've spent 13 credits already,
and we get a strike fund back.
Fantastic. as I say, those lovely Brindamore strike funds, which were a prize at EMEA.
And another one.
What, have we had precisely 3 accesses so far this game and stolen just? But as I say, we're what?
Yeah, a few R&D singles, but every HQ run has turned into a steal so far.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Look how far into this game we are and how many cards Rotage has drawn with this Charlotte.
Absolutely, yeah. Forgetting that, you're drawing 2 cards a turn. We've seen a couple of discards, so they're going to be building up. It's
rare these days that you see games of Netrunner with this amount of cardboard on the table.
True.
Both sides here really looking to play a lot of their cards. Right. Do you think we get rid of this Charlotte? Do you think so? Interestingly, we saw an Atlas. Do you think that tells us anything? Do you think we're less likely to be on punitive?
I think you could still be on punitive. I think the City Works really suggests punitive or some kind of damage follow-up. Whether that's potentially in the Built to Blast kind of version where we're looking at Public Trail end of the line just to, you made the run, it was expensive, it cost you cards.
Yeah.
Now I can follow up with something dangerous.
Advancing Charlotte again. Do we have something to jam?
Potentially, we advance it just to pop it because that's a click for 4 credits.
We're starting to advance the ice. I really think that. I don't have a good sense of what's in Rotage's hand, but you've got to be thinking.
It's hard to make a play here that isn't going to get immediately challenged.
Yep, Banhar on Archives can mean one thing: it's Sneak Door Beta, and this has got to feel.
You've got to feel good here, like having put all that pressure on HQ, forcing those reses, and then being able to pivot so cleanly.
Yeah, I mean, we are missing the Docklands Pass, but I don't see anything in the bin that would be like a good
It's
trade
like every single access is an agenda, so it's fine. We don't need it.
Don't need multi-access if you're just going to rip the agendas. But yeah, how many credits is... Hortum is still, what? 5 credits to fully break if you're using Cat's Cradle.
Yeah, Cat's Cradle not happy to see that. I think we might consider the damage here.
Looks like we are. Although at a certain point, Steve does have to start worrying about
cards in hand. We've only got 1 card in hand after
we're
this.
Losing a boomerang,
and we're going to get a Steve, so we're getting some of them back.
Yeah, I mean, for me, seeing that boomerang go is kind of sad there, because obviously that's a 2 credits to break Hortum. But
the strike fund would be hit there.
And
the 2 cards we didn't want to lose.
We're seeming to be thinking. I guess we're going to fire off our triggers.
Yeah.
And it's still the Charlotte in the remote. Could just win the game here. And we're still... I mean, the one piece of the puzzle that we're still missing is Wake Implant.
Yeah, I was going to say, as much as we're well set up here, it's still potentially going to be a bit of work to close this out with just single accesses.
Yeah, I mean, but I can't imagine what 2 Iced remote server is going to keep us out.
Yeah, we're not expecting Rotage to push in the remote at the moment, but we don't know what's in hand.
He does need to at some point, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bottoming something, going for all of the Steve triggers, and Kikai does a nice little trick here with the way that he's got them all lined up in the way that he wants.
He knows his ordering lined up for him.
And helps him not forget the Steve trigger, which is very easily done.
Yeah, it's a good idea, especially on a long day, just to have anything that helps take some of that mental load away.
Picking up Steel Skin.
Probably wise.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's such a... More Hortums. What do you think you do here if you're Rotage? Do you just continue to ice up?
I'm not sure what else you can do, and again, we're not entirely sure what the game plan of this deck is, and whether are we just waiting for a window where the runner makes a mistake. That's going to be hard to pull off here with Steve being so well set up.
I wonder if you could try and... I don't know if it's in the deck, but I wonder if you could try and go for some kind of clearinghouse angle.
Quite possibly.
It might be one of the better ways to win off of this board state, but setting it up could take quite a few turns with just agendas floating around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean...
Oh, it looks like we might be doing a judge call. Looks like Rotage is talking to somebody.
Yeah, just getting there.
Those look like Cobra Bubbles' shoelaces. We're stepping away from the table. So at this point, round 5, you'd been doing pretty well at this point in the tournament, right?
Yeah, so 5 rounds in, I believe I play Kikai in the next round.
Of course.
But at this point, yeah, I'd had my first 3 rounds. Funnily enough, were all against people who'd come in the same car.
Where were they all from?
It was all from Sheffield. So I think it was Saurian, Lifeline, and Palm Tree. Who had all come together, and I played them back to back, which was really fun. And yeah, crew host doing sort of everything I'd hoped to, running into several R+ lists. And then
the Sheffield kind of gang are big on R+.
Yeah, and that was I thought that would be my toughest matchup.
As crew who does need to take some tags.
You have to just be careful, learn to be patient.
I suppose as crew you don't need to take any tags really. There are not that many situations where the tag ability on Aristocrat's crew is essential.
You can manage your level of tags carefully. You also got Hannah in the deck, which can help in a pinch. So it's an interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah.
And then I was playing a version of Shoot the Moon PD.
Oh yeah.
Which again felt very good on the day, but always a little bit close every game.
I always like that though. I like a close game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've seen a little bit of development here. We've got more Ice on Archives now. Again, just trying to find a way to tax out Steve.
You've got to imagine that's the second Horton, right?
Yeah.
Because that turns that into a 10 credit break.
Yeah, that's getting expensive.
Which I don't know if at any point... Because the one thing about Sneak Door is you can't play a run event when you're Sneak Dooring, so...
Yeah, I think we're in the position here where, and we find this is a lot of corps against lists like this, this Steve list in particular, where you don't feel like you can push out, because if you do so, you're going to get punished by economic denial hard, and you're not going to get to score out to 7 points. So you're trying to shore up enough that Steve can't just run over you every turn. But that's going to be hard to do. It's going to take a long time, and all the time those agendas are building up.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting question about this Steve deck. There's 2 cards, I think, interesting cards that are rotating there with Dawn, and one of them Sneak Door Beta. Would you, if you were designing Dawn, would replacing Sneak Door be something that was on your mind? Is that one of the... Because it's been in there since the original core set, right?
It has. It's been around a long time.
And it provides quite an interesting angle of attack, but it doesn't see a lot of play.
Yeah, I think I like something like Sneak Door existing. Anything that kind of makes Archives a relevant server is interesting.
Yeah.
That it isn't just the discard pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky design space sometimes because it does force corps to spread themselves thin. And if you're doing that too much, then you can end up in this kind of position where corps just have to spend all their time defending and aren't making a sort of proactive game plan.
Yeah.
But no, I like it in principle. Absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder if you can do something that synergizes with some of those other cards like Virtuoso, one of my all-time favourite runner cards that never gets put in a deck.
If it had slightly different numbers, that design space is really cool.
And then the other one is Steve.
Ooh, there's an end of the line.
Okay. So that's a bit unexpected to me, actually. I wasn't anticipating end of the line, having seen what we've seen at this point.
Yeah, we haven't really, other than Colossus, we haven't really seen tagging in any way. But I think the only influence we've seen is Charlotte so far.
Yeah, that is true. I think it'll be interesting as well, how much of that of Steve's stack is left,
Yeah.
Because whilst I think it will be pretty easy for Steve to stay on 5 cards in hand for this game, as long as he wants to.
Yeah.
There'll be a difficult question of how long can you keep that up, and do you just eventually succumb to public trail end of the line?
Yeah, as Kikai here, you're probably starting to think, I can't just, fire Banhar every turn. That's going to start to wear me down.
Which, if they're
invulnerable,
if it's 10 credits to get into Archives and, best part 10 credits to get into HQ, that can be tough.
Absolutely. Yeah, our pressure is going to start to dwindle at some point. We just have to hope we've done enough over the course of the game.
Playing down a replacement class act.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think I'd be tempted to save that for some damage protection. But
maybe we've got a plan for next turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or we're just digging for Waken Plant, which we've still not seen.
Yeah, we're hoping to close the game before it starts to turn against us. And we're starting to, if every run starts to be too expensive, then I could see it turning around. Definitely.
What do you reckon? We've got 40 credits off this Charlotte now? Something...
A big number. We're sitting on, what's that, 24 credits here? How much money do we need? We probably need at least that to res all of this ice.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta start to think, like, what are we pushing? How are we...
Yeah, because the City Works plan...
The Charlotte has been popped. I think the Charlotte got over-installed. I didn't see a pre-advancement.
No, we're going for a double advance, I assume.
Looks like single, and then we're just discarding, so maybe I missed something, and then maybe we did advance and pop the Charlotte. Yeah, we went up on some credits.
Oh,
yeah. No, actually, that's just from the advancement. Oh, it's install advance. Yeah, it must have been draw install advance.
Yeah.
But,
interesting.
If you're Kikai, what's stopping you running this remote server?
Nothing. I think we, What single advance card are we worried about? I mean, we've seen End of the Line.
I expect it's Atlas. That would be my guess.
Yeah, and we're just pushing because we feel like we have to.
Yeah, an Atlas with a counter is nice.
But equally, I wouldn't put anything past Rotage. Could this be a trap? Could this be a Checkers Scion? Could this be a
Checkers Scion would actually be very on brand. Wow, yeah. I think that's actually a very heads up call, because running that would be 2 tags. Running it any later than click 2 would be very dangerous. And Kikai has a lot of cards in hand that you might want to play.
I think we're having to force the issue. I mean, it could equally be a second Charlotte just looking to bait out some of the tools. And cost Kikai some money.
So how many...
So we have a Logjam.
1. There's only 2 face-up cards in the bin.
But we do have Banner here, but it's 3 damage, which is more than we've been happy to take usually. So it's a
4 strength Logjam, which would, if we wanted to break it, cost us 2 credits to come strength, 2 to fully break. So we could break for 4, which isn't too bad, but we're going to take 3 damage.
Okay, we've got Class Act cards from the previous turn, so...
Yeah, I guess that is a good reason to take some damage, but I'm going to guess Wake Implant wasn't in hand.
Yeah. I think. Oh, wraparound.
Okay.
Tremolo's happy enough with that.
So, think about this if you're
wraparound?
No, that is a... it's the one that makes you bottom 2 cards, or put 2 cards from your hand on the top of the deck.
It's Data Loop.
Data Loop.
There we go. So we're seeing the plan kind of come together a little bit. Data Loop, City Works, probably Angelique, make it cost too many cards to take an agenda out of this remote.
But Data Loop, what strength is Data Loop?
I want to say 4.
I wonder how much... Yeah, 4 strength, so that's going to be 3 credits to break, even after we take that damage. And it looks like we have jacked out.
Okay, interesting.
We're only 3 cards in hand, or 2 cards in hand.
2 in hand means you're dead to an Urtica here. And I think that's...
Not an unreasonable guess.
Not an unreasonable guess. I mean, we have seen influence here on the Data Loop and on the Charlotte, so we're stretching it a little bit, but equally, at this point, don't lose the game if you don't need to.
I think that's
we're well set up enough.
If Rotage gets an Atlas with a counter here,
it doesn't end the game.
It doesn't end the game. And potentially Kikai taking that core damage early on is maybe starting to regret that decision.
Yeah, I'd love to have that Class Act here. Equally, we might have lost it to damage in that run, but by being able to bounce back up, I think we can still see a Steel Skin in hand.
Yeah. With... if we did get the Wake Implant down, that is a 4 credits to run the remote, which is going to be a very cheap server once the Wake comes down.
Yeah.
Another Logjam.
You have to pay for this one. And
we are down to 6 credits. Our money has disappeared in the blink of an eye.
All that Charlotte money, this is what Criminal can do to you.
Yeah.
Just forcing those reses all the way across the board.
2 to come strength, 2 to break. And again, all of these big barriers are going to melt away as soon as we get that weight down, I'm sure.
They start to be 0 to break, or just paying for strength.
Yeah. Most of these will require some kind of strength. Getting a strike fund in hand, bottoming, I think, a Cat's Cradle. Seeing a punitive on top as well! What on earth is going on here?
This deck wants to kill you.
And that punitive is going to be a very sad draw for Rotage next turn.
Yes, absolutely. Now that the 5 points are gone,
It is a second Charlotte. I believe it is.
Seeing the head shake from Kikai. Absolutely. I'll be doing the same.
I don't know if as Rotage, though, you're feeling fantastic about that.
Interestingly, he didn't choose to resin pop it. He got Kikai to jack out there.
Yeah.
Because you could, I think most players would be considering just saying, I'm going to get my 3 credits of value out of this Charlotte. But no, Rotage kind of pushing.
Overinstall, single advance, gain 2 credits, advance again.
Okay. So are we feeling here that we did enough, we made it expensive enough that we can push?
Kikai has, I think, 3 cards in hand.
The data loop, it's feeling, do you feel it's too dangerous to go and check this?
Yeah, and I mean, with the core damage, it's going to be tough. Where do you think you're placing your Banhart token here if you're Steve?
I think I want to keep it away from these log jams now.
I would be thinking archives.
I'm thinking archives, yeah. We've still got Sneak Door, we can still get value out of that. We've got a healthy credit pool to get through some of this ice.
And I think actually one of the often when playing the Banhart Steve list, which does have a finite number of resources in the deck, at a certain point you start, and I think this is what Kikai has done here, saying no server. It's declaring no Banhart, rather I'm going to be manually breaking stuff that I can see. I don't want to be taking net damage with this hand. I'd rather you end the run if I get something wrong.
Yeah, the subroutines on the ice are more palatable than a net damage subroutine at this point.
And this is the kind of game, right, where we start to think that a pinhole threading would be really nice.
There's our wake.
Oh my lord, that's going to feel good if you're Kikai. 4 cards in hand, we hit the strike fund.
Probably prefer the steel skin, but
if you'd drawn the steel skin, I think you would feel safe to run the remote if you'd hit that. But
but I think we're looking at a Sneak Door here with this wake, or we're considering whether it's the right play.
Click 3, we will.
With 2 cards in hand, this is where this kind of built to last deck can catch you unawares if you're not careful.
It's a cheeky snare. It looks like we might have 3 in hand, but yeah.
But we're safe to punitive.
We're running, it must be HQ because we are breaking with Revolver.
Okay, so thinking the HQ run is cheaper or better for us than the Sneak Door Archives run.
I can see it. It's 3, 5 to get through HQ, it's 5 to get through Archives with an Unres Nice.
Yeah.
Getting all of our triggers, getting that wake counter, we're picking up a Bravado.
And Tremolo now better than Cleaver.
Tremolo now looking like actually a very good breaker. It only took this long into the game. And we're still seeing that into the line.
Not every single HQ access can be an agenda.
No, but...
Oh, there's the shutdown.
And what card are you shutting down here?
Yeah, good question.
The data loop would be my first choice, I think.
Tempted, maybe the Colossus.
Yeah, both.
Because you have to res that to get the Aftershock to be relevant. Suddenly HQ is a 1 credit run.
But we're going for the data loop, which is a 7 credit res.
Good. Yeah, I can see that. Just make it so that you're just saying you will not score out.
Yeah. And if, say, I
don't need to win, I just need to say you don't win.
Yeah, because... and Rotage choosing not to... score this agenda if it is an agenda. I smell a trap.
It feels like a trap, but I don't know. We haven't seen active traps so far, but that doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah. Seeing them off of Central's accesses is kind of like a big way of getting a hang on these things in Swiss,
Absolutely.
That thing where you sit down across from your opponent and you have literally no idea what they're doing, and you're armed with all of this meta knowledge. You think to yourself that you're relatively well prepared, and then snare out of BtL.
And of all the players in the UK, I would say Rotage is the one that makes me feel that way the most.
And the most likely that he's going to get away with it as well.
Something bad is going to happen.
Hit a Banhart, hit a Steel Skin.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Drawing, and it's a class up draw. Now,
first diversion possibly turning up.
Yeah, Kikai's been bottoming these diversions. For obvious reason. But now I think I might have 2 in hand.
Yeah, the corpse credit pool is dwindling.
Yep, and we're popping this border control ahead of time. Wow,
And that was just a regular run.
I think that was click 1. So if we can send...
We're happy to see that with these diversions in there.
Yeah, and potentially, getting a weight counter, getting... oh, I might be wrong about this. Oh no, we're just running it back.
Running back?
Normal run.
Yeah.
So this must actually be our last click, I think. Oh no, this is a...
Oh, this is a diversion.
Yeah, you can see there. Getting all of the triggers, getting the counters, stealing 6 credits from the runner's pool because of pan weave.
That feels hard.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got 4 pan weaves off this game, so it's now basically like 1 away from being equivalent value to getting off another diversion.
So we said, how long do you let the Charlotte cook? It turns out longer.
12 turns was not enough. What's Rotage doing over here?
The economic denial that comes out of this Steve list is really hard to keep up with.
Oh, popping an NGO front.
An NGO
makes a lot of sense.
Okay, that eases this a little bit.
Yeah. And it's probably why you felt good about using the board control.
Yeah.
Even if you knew it might...
You know of the diversions coming.
Yeah.
And is that a City Works that we can see? Or is it a little bit of glare?
Yep, City Works project. That's a very interesting decision.
3 cards in hand. We know the data loops there.
So you need to have 5 cards in hand after getting through the outermost ice.
Is it? Well, yeah, I can't tell.
I'm pretty sure it was a City Works. But anyway, whatever agenda it is, it wins Kikai the game if he gets it.
True.
And I think... what do you think that outermost ice could be? Border control?
That could be good, yeah, I can see that.
Border control into data loop, though, is going to cost you a lot of money.
More cards than you've got.
No, you'd end up with 1 credit spare if you're Rotage, but you wouldn't be scoring out anytime soon.
True. Yeah, do we have the money to back up this threat?
We're doing some drawing on Kikai's part. 1, 2, 3 clicks worth of drawing cards. Yeah, and it looks like it is a City Works project. Oh, it's with 2 advancements.
There are 2 advancements. They were just
okay, so you needed 6 cards after getting through the. But yeah, it's still only a 2
data loop twice. You're hitting that.
Yeah,
losing those cards.
But it's a 2 credit break of Logjam. This isn't going to be an expensive server. It is just taxing cards in hand.
Oh, he's.
And that might well be time in the round.
Ah, okay.
I think Kikai probably feeling good there either way.
It's going to be hard to close out for Rotage. It's not impossible. This kind of all this big ice can start to turn the tide, but yeah, time just kicking in there. The criminal econ denial just saying you cannot win this game for long enough.
Yeah, and I have found that of the decks that I like to play, Steve Cambridge by far and away the most likely to go to time.
Yes.
Which is normally a factor that I really tend to avoid in decks.
We have 2 multi-access cards, right? 1 Docklands, 1 Wake.
Yeah.
We didn't see any multi-access actually come in the end.
No. It was a data loop.
40,
do we see?
It
was two data loop on the right, so we couldn't have rest. I think Kikai maybe just would have won the game in that round. But
yeah.
Anything else you want to say about that game?
I think just it shows how good this Steve deck can be, and however rich your deck, you think your deck is, it needs to be richer.
Yeah. Are you planning on coming to UK Nationals?
I will be at UK Nationals,
and
absolutely.
People watching can buy their tickets now to UK Nationals. And yeah, you're going to join me for 3 more games of commentary.
Absolutely.
And thank you if you've got to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.